you pose a threat to life, no apology, close quote. This is publicly said. After this press conference, the NUMSA national office bearers with our attorneys shall proceed to the offices of the Hawks to investigate the call for the killing of the NUMSA General Secretary. And we hope that by this evening, this gentleman would be arrested and be charged so that he spends some time amongst the criminals who are killers in our society. The third point in our statement is on NUMSA and the ANC and the alliance. We are currently very busy with the preparations towards the special NUMSA National Congress to be held from 13th to 16th December 2013. The special NUMSA National Congress preparations involve all NUMSA members, as we said before, from the smallest factory floor to the national leadership layers. Among the urgent questions the NUMSA Special National Congress must resolve is what is our attitude to the ANC-led alliance? What is our attitude to the 2014 national elections? What is our position on the crisis within COSATU? The adoption of a NUMSA service charter to service NUMSA members better. Taking forward a resolute struggle and campaign on socio-economic issues to achieve the Freedom Charter in our country. Every member of NUMSA, through general meetings, local policy workshops, regional policy workshops, and ultimately the National Policy Workshop and the Central Committee, has been afforded a democratic opportunity to debate and learn from others on these and other matters. We will draw delegates from factories across the 9 provinces of South Africa in which NUMSA has a presence. On Saturday, 23rd November, throughout the country, we've had regional NUMSA congresses that engage with 6 or 7 draft resolutions that will serve before the NUMSA Special National Congress. Not a single NUMSA member had been prevented in their workplaces, in factory structures, from airing their views, debating with others, and ultimately participating in shaping the resolutions which will ultimately be debated and finally passed in the NUMSA Special National Congress. What we hear today in the media about statements attributed to the NUMSA president, it is the first time that we hear those views. It had never been expressed in any meeting in which he participated. The NUMSA president, the former NUMSA president, Comrade CEDRIC GINA, was in fact deployed on Saturday, the 23rd of November, to present the national office bearers' input on behalf of the Central Committee of NUMSA to the KwaZulu-Natal Regional Congress. He did not pitch up, despite having flown to KwaZulu-Natal. He had not tendered any apology for his absence in that regional congress. We now know why he failed to represent the NUMSA Central Committee and national office bearers in the NUMSA KwaZulu-Natal Regional Congress on 23rd of November. No NUMSA national office bearer can be silenced. No NUMSA national office bearer can claim to have been denied the possibility to participate and influence decisions of the union. It is just not within the custom, within the practice, and within the democratic tradition of NUMSA to deny any elected office bearer his right to air his views. The fourth point in our statement deals with NUMSA and South Africa today as we see the state of the South African working class and working class struggles. In 2008, the top 20%, or roughly 10 million South Africans, received 75% of total national income. The poorest 50% of the South African population, or 25 million South Africans, received a meager 8% of the national income. Out of these poorest 25 million South Africans, 24 million are Africans. These statistics are widely available for all who care to know the real South Africa post-1994. In a nutshell, these statistics clearly paint the ugliest picture of our continuing colonialism of a special type 19 years into our democracy. Africans in particular, black people in general, who by and large constitute the brunt of mass poverty, widespread unemployment, and extreme inequalities in South Africa today. There's been a failure to radically resolve the colonial question by implementing radically and fully the Freedom Charter and to transfer the wealth of our country to all South Africans. All NUMSA regions have confirmed this ugly fact repeatedly. South Africa has become the most unequal place on earth today, post-1994. There is widespread corruption and looting of the public purse, as the Auditor General's report consistently shows. The black and African working class continues to be the backbone of the South African economy by providing cheap and impoverishing labor to the largely white and imperialist-owned and controlled South African economy. Land ownership, the essence and very reason of all liberation struggles, remain an unresolved issue almost 2 decades after 1994. To speculate or even to hint that NUMSA or its General Secretary can sacrifice the struggle to correct these historical national gender and class injustices at the altar of any political office for any individual is to demonstrate total ignorance of what NUMSA is and what NUMSA is all about. Fifthly, what are the challenges we are confronting? We think that coming from NUMSA members themselves, from the entire country, the following are the urgent revolutionary tasks of metal workers in South Africa. 1, to defend and advance the revolutionary socialist traditions and trajectory of NUMSA. 2, to defend and advance the immediate and radical implementation of the Freedom Charter in full as the only viable solution to mass poverty, unemployment, and extreme inequalities in our country. 3, to defend and insist on the immediate implementation of the radical program of COSATU of 11th Congress held in 2012. 4, defend and implement the decisions of the March 2013 COSATU Collective Bargaining Conference on the abolition of the colonial wage and the immediate implementation of a national minimum wage in South Africa. 5, to defend the socialist revolutionary unity of the working class. 6, every NUMSA member must be mobilized to fight for the new liberal national development plan, to fight e-tolls, to fight labor brokers, to fight the youth wage subsidy, which is now deceitfully called employment incentive tax, to fight the South African colonial wage structure, to deal with the apartheid's spatial development in terms of human settlements in South Africa and the economy, the fact that workers are miles away from their workplaces, to fight for manufacturing and reindustrialization of our country and quality, decent jobs. As the NUMSA national office bearers, we urge all NUMSA members to remain vigilant against all enemies of the working class in general and NUMSA detractors in particular during these tough times. As NUMSA national office bearers, we say, united we shall triumph. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much, Comrade Carl. Today it's a full house. It's full house. We won't ask why. We appreciate that, unlike other days, you are here in numbers. So we'll take questions.
Thank you so much. That was Rian Kloot, the Deputy General Secretary of NUMSA, addressing the media briefing there on the resignation of Mr. GINA. We're going to take a very quick commercial break. We'll be back with more PM News. Stay with us.
Don't understand. I thought they needed me all the time.
Listen, we are useful and appreciated. The reason they switch you off between 5 and 9 in the evening is that the country uses more electricity and supply is under pressure. Switching you off helps free up power for other things. And it's not just you. It's all the geezers in the country.
Oh, I didn't think of it like that.
Switch off your geyser every day between 5 and 9 in the evening and help keep South Africa powered up.
What time is it? It's question time.
The Jehovah's Witnesses, are you happy with corruption in the countries wherever you exist?
No.
But then that's a position. You are taking a stand against corruption.
We are actually proclaiming a better solution for corruption. The kingdom of God is actually going to bring righteousness across the country.
That's question time with me, Mpho Tsedu, Monday to Saturday, 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Typhoon Haiyan has made landfall in Vietnam days after it left thousands dead and widespread devastation in the Philippines.
Chad Leclerc claimed 5 medals at the Japan leg of the FINA World Cup Series, 4 gold and a silver. Most importantly, it was a clean sweep in the butterfly events.
The infamous Lady Gaga.
What has she done this time? What has she done? She wears meat. She wears exaggeratedly high shoes. What has she done?
She's come out in the world's first flying dress.
That's Morning Live, daily at 6 a.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back to PM News. Let's take a recap of those news-making headlines this hour. 2 police officers have been arrested in connection with the kidnapping and assault case against Czech fugitive Radovan Krecha. One of the officers is from Germiston's organized crime unit. Police have not ruled out more arrests. COSATU President Stumo Dlamini says the Labour Federation has learnt with shock about the resignation of NUMSA President CEDRIC GINA. GINA tendered his resignation late yesterday afternoon. He has cited conflicts in the union and what he terms unfair treatment by NUMSA leadership as reasons for his resignations. GINA's resignation comes at a time when many believe NUMSA is considering breaking away from COSATU and withdrawing its support for the ANC. President Jacob Zuma and 8 cabinet ministers have arrived in Ghana for a 2-day visit. The president will have official talks with his Ghanaian counterpart, President John Dramani Mahama. The 2 leaders will also assess progress regarding the implementation of earlier agreements between the 2 countries. And in sport, 4 teams have already qualified for the last 16 ahead of match day 5 in the season's Champions League group phase. Chelsea need to just a draw to progress, while Arsenal are aiming to wrap up their qualifications as well. NUMSA has accepted the resignation of President CEDRIC GINA. Now, earlier on, my colleague Colin spoke to Professor Steve Friedman about the developments. All right, we're going to go back to the press conference there that is being addressed, NUMSA addressing the media briefing there. Let's go back to the conference.
Termination of the affiliation to the
Last one.
Stephen Curtis, Eyewitness News on the far right. Mr. Jim, that was for you. Can I ask, and put it in broad brushstroke, NUMSA has been headed in, shall we call it, a certain direction over the last few months. Do you believe the resignation of Mr. GINA and any of the possible, shall we say, consequences of that within the union could change that direction or stop the direction in which NUMSA appears to be moving? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've got roughly 8 questions. Who wants to start? Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. First, I think it's important to state that NUMSA is on course towards its own special Congress that will take place on the 13th and 16th of December. And it is only after that Congress that the decisions that would have been taken in that conference, which will be decision of the National Union of Metal Workers, will be announced. So there are no witch doctors, there was no sangomas who are going to take decisions for NUMSA between now and that particular special Congress. And there are no individual NOBs, including the collective of national office bearers, that has got capacity to take decisions on behalf of the organization. A NUMSA National Congress is a supreme body that will take decisions which will be a policy of NUMSA moving forward. But I also wish the media not take for granted the circulation of the process demonstrated here, that we had planned general meetings, we had local general meetings, we had local shop steward councils, we had regional policy workshops. In the recent past, we had a national policy workshop. The outcomes of those of the national policy workshop went back to regional congresses. For what? For further deliberations and debate, and the outcome of those regional conferences will be a subject of discussions and dialogue until there are resolutions that will be taken in the special conference. I think it's important to state that there's been special edition in terms of NUMSA news that went back to members. Our president, GINA, who served the union for years together with us, has participated right through in that process. There is a DVD, for instance, where he was basically talking to members to stimulate debate around that particular process. We're really not sure, and we have some number of perspectives as to why are we here, coming from the president. In the recent past, we had a shocking situation where, after the Central Committee took a decision to convene a special conference, in the auto process of bargaining as NUMSA leadership, we had to convene an NEC to decide whether we must settle the auto strike, yes or not, on the basis of our engagement with employers in the sector. Our president opened that particular NEC. What was shocking to all NOBs, including myself, was the fact that the opening of the president was basically attacking all decisions that were taken by the Special Central Committee. And he actually confirmed this before he spoke. He said it's for the first time that he would make a presentation without sharing that presentation with the collective of national office bearers. And when he finished, I had the duty to brief the NEC on the development in the Federation. This was immediately after we were being ambushed in a politically funny school of pop crew, which was convened to basically lambast NUMSA through the SACP, through the African National Congress leadership. And we went to town to characterize as to how NUMSA was being projected at a particular time. And after that, we learned that the president has basically, in the Motors March, he went to Business Day, he went to Sowetan, and basically attacking the NUMSA posture, both in support of Zoninze Mavavi and NUMSA posture in relation to COSATU. And the president has been simmering views that we're putting eggs in one basket and so forth. But to say we're putting eggs in one basket, all decisions that NUMSA is pursuing have been adopted in a central committee of NUMSA. So as Jim or as a collective, we have no decisions of our own except to pursue decisions that has been taken by constitutional structures of the organization. It was a bit shocking, and I must say, in that NEC, all NUMSA 9 regions were very angry. Some were saying he must be suspended, and we were firm as the collective of national office bearers that we needed to hear the president out. We needed to exhaust ourselves first before we can run to measures of discipline and everything else. And I can confirm here that in the recent past Central Committee, there has been a discussion between us as a collective of NOBs with the president, where we put to the president what were mandated and what have been concerns that were raised about his public spec against policy positions that were taken by the organization. And that meeting, I can state, it started between me and the president before we had a meeting with the collective. And we emerged there very united. We went back to the Central Committee to give a report. The president actually confirmed that indeed he apologized for misjudging of the kind of things he said. And we concluded there that there is a need for a further Bosberat to iron out everything else. So we were very relaxed that the unity of NOBs was okay. And people would notice that there was this reporting about the president, and we said no to his suspension, and that Central Committee brought this matter to everybody agreed that it is resolved. The second thing I think must be stated is that these discussion documents didn't just go out from the General Secretary's office or any, there was a convened National Office Bearers meeting to look at all discussion documents before they were circulated to lower structures for discussion. The President was part of that meeting. Those documents were ticked for debate and discussions. And remember, there's been a process which evolved with structures to generate those particular discussion documents. Now, on Saturday, a journalist by George Matlala, I don't see him here. He was doing his journalism work. He phones me, he says, I am in possession of one of your documents that are being discussed. This document, one of the things that it talks about the NUMSA moving out of COSATU. This document is a discussion document that has got many options for debate and discussion. I sent him a text back, and in that text I'm explaining to him that, listen, there's no need for speculation. There are discussion documents that are out for debate, there are regional congresses. They are not final positions of the organization, because he was saying he's attributing this discussion document to me. So I clarified him, and he thanked me back and said, look, I have quoted you as you are. Remember, I don't stay in newsroom. I don't control you guys what you write. Then I'm not sure what has happened to the president, whether he's being provoked by George Matlala, a statement in the Sunday Independent, which has got a full coating of me explaining what is the process. And in that process, there's no decision that NUMSA is moving away from COSATU. It's one of the options that are being debated and so forth. In fact, if you read that document, it also talks about claiming COSATU to a fighting federation and everything else. On Sunday, an SMS comes from a lady who worked for Sowetan by the name of Maiponi, and she says, I must confirm whether indeed I was in Nkandla. I know Goli like Nkandla. Whether indeed I was in Nkandla, and did I really demand to JZ that Zwelinzima Vavi must be made a president, a deputy president, and the president suggests that the reason why NUMSA have taken the political posture that it has taken is because NUMSA General Secretary is angry about the fact that this agenda of Zwelinzima Vavi being the deputy president was not fulfilled. So I must comment. My response to my pony was very simple, is that I, as the NUMSA General Secretary, I will not engage with any of the NUMSA national office bearers through the media. In relation to the processes, there is an internal process for discussions and debate, which the president of the union is fully aware in relation to the special congress. Comrade Karl is telling you that the president was deployed, so he had a platform to basically state his views in KZN Regional Congress on any matter that he's concerned about in the evolving debate and discussion that is going on in the organization. And indeed, on Monday, we woke up on a big Sowetan statement. I must say that if you were to ask me why, I think the president was between the hard place and the rock. First, he recently apologized in the Central Committee for speaking against the policy decisions of the organization. Reading the article on the Sowetan, he would have been compelled by hook or crook to explain in the structures of the organization what is now this statement that you have made in Sowetan. I know people are very interested. Were we in Nkandla? Yes. There was a meeting that took place in Nkandla between the leadership of NUMSA and the president of the African National Congress. It was not a discussion of individuals. It was a central committee decision that we need to engage with the leadership of the ANC on the state of manufacturing in the country, on the revolutionary program. And that's what I'm willing to state about that. I honestly think that we didn't call a media for that meeting. Did we phone you and said we're going to Nkandla? We didn't. Because we're not mandated by you. We're mandated by our members. We had a right to meet with any leader of the ANC to engage him on matters. And I think the posture we will take, we will protect that meeting and what have ensued in relation to that. I don't think we're at liberty now to expose that meeting. This is what JZ said, and so forth. Honestly, yes, there was a meeting, but it was not an opportunistic meeting as reported by CEDRIC GINA. He knows it, that he's not speaking the truth, and we don't need to be responding to his levels of desperation in relation to this matter. The question must be asked, why, in our view, CEDRIC GINA is behaving in this way? I guess it's very difficult to answer that question because we are not him. But I must admit knowing CEDRIC, it's very difficult to believe that this is CEDRIC who speaks. He sounds like somebody who's accounting somewhere else, who, even though he would have come to us and say, I'm sorry about this, he knows processes in the organization. The level of desperation of whoever that he meets, we think is at the center of this particular process. Because we can't explain a president who go to a central committee today and say, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake, and he goes out within a couple of few days. He then comes back. He's not even writing the resignation to us, because if he sent the resignation to us as NOBs, we could have convened a meeting and say, President, can we have a meeting? Just like yesterday, I sent him text, I phoned him, he was not picking up my calls. He says, look, he's in a meeting. And Stephen phones me in the afternoon of yesterday. He says, I still didn't pick up as Stephen was speaking that indeed he has resigned, because Stephen was saying, look, the president says this, you want to move away from COSATU. I said, Stephen, I'm not engaging with the president in the public. And I texted him, and he said he's in a meeting. And I said, President, can we hear your side of the story on Sowetan? When the afternoon was basically coming to an end, then it was in the radio that the president had resigned, and his resignation letter goes to locals. And you see, we're not fools. We can see that this is a mobilization ploy, and the president wants to play a victim, and so that in the special Congress, workers must come there, mobilize against suddenly this autocratic regime who's violent, and somebody says closer to being physical. Today I'm very smooth, man. I can't hurt anybody. The truth of the matter is that we think that that in itself is not neutral. We think that there is a political agenda. There are people out there, both in the Communist Party and the ANC, who are extremely worried about NUMSA's political posture. And I must also say, if, as Ivan Jim, have got ambitions to be deployed in Parliament or anywhere today, if Comrade Christine has got those ambitions, the current NUMSA political posture is not favorable for such. No, I mean, you won't be deployed, Carl, for now. And what can you do? The best way is to demonstrate to both the ANC and the SACP that I am doing my best to fight NUMSA's political posture. And I think the president has just done it with his political career. He has decided to resign. And it is true, look, he remained a NUMSA member. And secondly, he is a shop steward. You can't be a NUMSA member if you're not a shop steward. And you can, yes, in both ways. And he is a NUMSA shop steward. So he can come through the ranks of the union. He has resigned to be a president of NUMSA. Look, I think the point we're making is that there has been no reason from where we're sitting to anticipate this resignation of the president. And we must tell you that we will refuse to be drawn into an agenda that is cooked to try and create confusion on the eve of our own special Congress. There is a special conference, and during the course of this week, we will launch those particular discussion documents publicly. You will be invited so that between now and the 13th, we don't have people continuing to pull straws around these discussion documents, because they are merely discussion documents until such time that there is a final resolution in the form of policy conference. I think the new age is asking the question, is the president has been given space to engage? I noted that the president says he was in a cage, almost like a wild animal which has been caged.
Self-imposed.
I must say that Comrade Carl among the NOBs and Christine, both senior, they they're very firm in terms of, we had a very healthy collective with CEDRIC. As NOBs, we know each other's strength, we know each other's weaknesses, and we care about unity of national office bearers. We're not water. There are times when we differ, but it's a civilized engagement. And the issue about ABSA, the union engaged all service providers. There has been a process and a period where the union engaged and decisions were taken in relation to how do we ensure that we access financing of cars and everything else, and to a point where there was an agreement that was signed with ABSA. Now, I don't remember this fearless battle around that, because again, there was a collective decision taken. If there were differences, it would have been that the president, as a worker control, needed to sign, and would have differed if all processes have been taken to a point where he needed to sign. And if he's got questions, I mean, I can't. For instance, the Nkandla issue that is being used, we didn't go to Nkandla now. It happened in 2012. It was on the Easters of 2012 when we went to Nkandla in a particular weekend. But it's raised now as an issue that we are where we are because of Nkandla in 2012. And I mean, the president had all options. He had NEC to raise his concerns in relation to that matter. GS relationship with the president, well, as I'm saying, we never had any fearless battle with the president, except when the president decided to speak against the decisions of the policy position of the structures. And even that, as I'm saying, I met with the president first, we met with the collective, we went to the CC and report, and we told everybody that we are united as NOBs. The president closed that meeting, he further made further commitment, and there is no issue we can think about. The issue about lawyers, I'm not sure whether we should be drawn into, because you're not going to pay for us. It is true that it is a known fact that there is FAU, there is the SASPU who have joined the NUMSA case to oppose the suspension of Comrade Zwelinze Mavavi. As to why must we answer, how are we paying, I think you better ask CEDRIC GINA. He must tell you what he knows. It's a known fact that we've taken up those cases as those three affiliates, and we don't, whenever we pay lawyers, come to the media and say we've paid lawyers. And I think if in his desperation he thinks there's an issue there, he should state what he wants to state. We're not going to answer that. We got a mandate from constitutional structures to have taken the route to court, which binds CEDRIC GINA. NUMSA pointed towards a particular direction. It is true, NUMSA is having a special Congress. There are serious discussions, as people know. NUMSA from 2008 have led a political trajectory and the direction that we want the country to take. We vote every 5 years. We are saying enough is enough. The Freedom Charter must be implemented. The structure of South African economy and its accumulation must change. It can't be that white monopoly capital and white population continue to benefit. The issues of ownership and control of the economy must be addressed. Manufacturing and industrialization must be addressed. We don't want e-tolls. We don't want youth wage subsidy, which now have taken a form of a tax. We don't want labor brokers. And the truth of the matter is that the ANC have not addressed these issues. What people do not want is a situation where NUMSA goes back to members who mandated us to deal with these issues within the alliance, to go and give a report back to workers and say, this is what you have mandated us, this is what the ANC has failed to do, what must we do? No. Hey, people are mad about this NUMSA special conference. And I'm convinced they want to do anything. We lost a president. It's still on the 13 and 16. We're going. We got a mandate to go to the special conference. Not from me, from members. And we're going to give an honest account of the performance of the ANC.